We'll talk about day in the life. Welcome to episode of Real Estate First Technology Unleashed. So literally trying to deal with this technology situation. I was like unplugging, plugging things up, getting some issues. Got new mics, new all the things for all of our guests. Thanks to our sponsor, liftoffagent.com, number one marketing and positioning agency. Dan didn't get to see any of that shit. He came in, he was just like, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still fiddle faddling with stuff. But good morning, Dan. How's your morning?
Little under the weather. My allergies are going nuts. There's a forest fire like 40 miles away, and I think it's the smoke's messing with me. So
dang, I could hear it in your voice for sure, bro.
Yeah, it sucks. So
day in the life, dude. Day in the life. Well, we appreciate you showing up, dude. We have a cool podcast today. We actually have for real estate professionals out there, mortgage professionals, anyone that needs to get in the real estate industry that needs to get in and do more with media. We've been seeing some of Dan Gandy's new media work, which is awesome. I know, Dan, you actually have some internal guys that you work with on your side.
Yeah, I got a video guy and a photographer, kind of hybrid both right now. But yeah,
there you go.
Shoot all the content, keep him busy. So we've been doing a lot of internal content, client interviews, and other good stuff. Pushing it out.
Okay. There you go. Well, if you don't have someone internal like Dan Gandy, check out going to be Code Blue Media. And we have, I believe, either the founder, one of the founders, or owners. We got Nav on the show. Welcome to Real Estate First Technology, brother.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, of course, of course. Let's give him a warm welcome here. So, where did the name come from, man? I'm super excited to learn more about the business and who you are. And we like to go deeper. So individuals that are looking for a media company outside of like a pretty brand and maybe work on the front end, they want to like build a relationship. They could do that today on the podcast. So, so where did your name come from? I'm very curious. I love the name.
The name actually came from back in high school. I used to have this idea about owning like a nightclub or like a restaurant. And I always thought for some reason, like having like a name like Code Blue would be like a really like cool name for like a bar or like a nightclub or something like that. So I always just like wrote it down and I kept it because it always just looked good on paper and it sounded cool. And then I remember like later on, for some reason, I was at a hospital just like at the gift shop or something like that. And I remember going up the elevator, and on the elevator, it said, Code Blue. And it meant like when there's cardiac arrest, like in the building or whatever. And I also remember like, okay, so like, this would actually be like a really cool name for like a media company, because it kind of means like you're creating like really impactful, like heart stopping, like moments. And it just sounded like a really cool name. So, it was just funny that it actually meant something, in like a message, you know what I mean? But all I really kept it was because it just sounded really good on paper. But then like once someone told me, and then I saw it in an elevator too, it's just like, wow, it makes sense. Like we create like super impactful content. So we just kind of went with it. So
let's go.
Sometimes it just happens that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the universe is just like, this is what your name's going to be. And it just kept feeding you and feeding you and feeding you. And that's sick, dude. I love that. So you're in the real estate side, you're doing media production, the whole nine. Like, did you go to school for this stuff, dude? Or like, how did it even come about to like, one thing to pick the real estate industry, and obviously it's another thing to find your passion with creating videos and media. So, so what came first, real estate or media?
To be honest, definitely media. Definitely media. Yeah, like I was in like elementary school, and I used to make tech reviews on like MacBooks and like iPads.
Yeah, sort on YouTube.
Like way back in the like day, like back on YouTube when like tech reviews weren't a thing. And I used to use iMovie. And the only class I've ever done was like back when I was super young, maybe like 12 or 13. My mom enrolled me into some like summer camp for like movie makers or something like that. And it was like this 2-week like movie camp like thing or whatever, where, just like any other summer camp or whatever. Went there and for some reason just fell in love with like iMovie and like shooting movies and stuff. And ever since then, I've just like had a camera, shot videos, completely like amateur. And then like, school, like high school came around, university, and I kind of put the camera down for a bit. And then I started to pick it up again, actually, because I actually started shooting cars. So I was shooting cars, and I, actually started like a car club in university towards the end of it, my end of my term there. Ended up shooting the cars that used to come to our like car meets at like the club. And then from there, met some people who owned like a detailing shop, and then they had a lot of clients that were exotic car owners who were real estate agents, and
Yep, makes sense.
And they said, why don't you just come shoot one of my houses, just like randomly, because like one of their main guys didn't have like the chance to come that day or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it. And, I just wrote him some random proposal, and we showed up. And then, from there, I just got the idea to start reaching out to agents, and then it kind of just snowballed from there.
Wow. That's super sick. I know Dan's in the works. He wants to buy a Bentley. Is that still something you want for your exotic car?
Yes, it is. I'm really, really into the new Bentley electric too.
Oh, really?
Wow.
There's a new one. It's ridiculously priced, but yeah, it's you'll have to check it out. There's only like a few in the United States right now. There's a guy in Seattle. It's a real estate investor, and he bought one.
That's sick. That's super cool. No, cars are I think cars and suits and all that type of stuff fits very well in the real estate side of things. And actually, a deal came across my desk about 2 months ago, and I picked up a 2016 Nissan GTR. So I'm right there with you, dude. I love cars. They're freaking awesome. And yeah, it's a whole nother ball game, because you go to these car shows and people see you and they see like the Instagram. They're like, "Who's this guy? Can I work for you?" Yeah. So it's pretty sick, dude. It's pretty sick. So what did you get into first? You just like you're doing the video stuff with that, and then now you do photos and drone and all the things. So what did this like turn into over time?
So basically, what happened after that first initial shoot with that car owner, what happened was I had the idea to start cold emailing agents in my local area. So basically what I did is found all the listings in my local area that were within like a certain price range, because obviously I knew agents have a commission and they can only afford like a certain amount of work or whatever. So I reached out to all the agents that had listings for above like $2 million like price range in my local area, like right in the local vicinity. And
you?
Where?
No, I'm just saying, is this you out there listening? Because he's targeting right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so I started to reach out to them, and one of the agents I reached out to was a top producer in my local area, and I guess he was just in the process of completely rebranding and remarketing his whole like team, and he wanted to start doing videos, and he was the perfect client to me, and like honestly, like it was honestly like winning the lottery in terms of finding a client like him, because he was someone that believed in like marketing and wanted to take a completely new path in his career, because he was in like the second half. He wanted to completely do something different. So he met me, and I offered to do a bit of work for him, and he liked my work, and we just, we clicked, the relationship built, and his career just started to grow and grow and grow. And like I became his number one guy. And through that one client, the work that I had from there, I was able to show and build like the portfolio you see on my Instagram, my website. Yeah. And it was just kind of rinse and repeat, just reaching out to new agents and agents referring me and making more content. And yeah, so that's sort of, it's just a snowball from that one sort of reaching out to one really good client. So yeah.
I love that. I had to give you a round of applause for that one.
I always stress that the cornerstone client is the one who can open as many doors. And when you don't have the confidence to, you're sitting there cold emailing people, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people who they'll like focus on the bottom of the list, right? Because they don't think they have what it takes to work with the top. But when you go straight to the top and you create those relationships, you start building that portfolio, you wouldn't have the snowball that's rolling down the hill then. So
yeah, it's like follow the leader. It's like, who's
got it? Yeah. And your unique selling proposition, how you price, you may lose money up front, but to get that opportunity, right?
Yes.
Is worth every penny. And I've had to explain that to a few people. I've had people reach out to like want to do video and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to pay you what you're asking. Like, if you want the opportunity to do this, like you got to work with me on obviously taking care of what you need to take care of in terms of cost, but you're like charging exuberance amount of money, but you need my exposure in order to make your portfolio better. So like, let's work together as a team, and I'll help you, you help me. So
absolutely.
That's where I found this current guy. So it's been great.
I love that. Hey, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Hack it, do what you got to do and make it work. And so now, Nev, like what has been like, let's talk success, right? Like obviously everyone knows by now, get on video. It's freaking obvious, right? And like, I know a lot of agents now are getting on YouTube and they're doing YouTube content. And one of our past guests, you got to check him out. Anyone who's listening, viewing right now, Adam Hancock, did 300 million on YouTube in 3 years, just talking about Florida. It's a free Florida relocation guide YouTube channel, and that wants to check it out. So what are some success stories and some things that you've seen, some case studies, so we could share with the audience so they could be like, okay, this is my sign. I got to get on video. I'm going to go ahead and hire Code Blue Media.
So
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I would say like for agents and stuff like that out here, I think it was pretty. I sort of started working at a time where in Toronto, where a lot of agents weren't doing content. Like we were just at sort of the start of that. I would say the gates opening here for real estate marketing.
Yeah.
And in the United States, for example, what I'm doing is already extremely popular. But
Yeah.
for it to happen right here, like right now, it was a delayed process because everything that happens sort of north of the border, like in Toronto here, is delayed when it gets compared to what happens in the States. So at the time I started, I just started at a good time because a lot of agents, almost like the baby boomers age of like real estate agents, a lot of agents were a bit younger and they understood the importance of video and that they needed to do it now in order to stay relevant like years like ahead, you know? So I just got in at the right time when a lot of agents knew that this was the right time. And I made sure I communicated my value because one thing I didn't mention in my initial story was I had a very good friend of mine who was an agent at the time and he was just getting into his career. And I started to produce videos for him on YouTube that went, you know, I would say a little bit like viral in terms of the fact they had over 100,000 views. And
Nice.
that was like a little bit unheard of for real estate agents here in Toronto. You know, that wasn't something that, you know, because no one really thought like anybody cared about seeing a condo here or anything like that. So once I started showing agents that it was possible for you to get this sort of exposure if you, you know, allow me to have a little bit of creative freedom, understand what I'm doing in terms of like SEO with posting YouTube videos the right way, structuring the content the right way, and sort of logically explaining to them why the way you're producing videos and marketing your brand and your listings is inefficient and compared to how I can help you sort of restructure, you know, your marketing for your listings and personal brand and make it more efficient, even though it's a little bit more obviously more costly working with someone like a media agency with me. I think each dollar you invest isn't wasted, right? And I just did a really good job explaining that to them because I feel like agents are very afraid of wasting money, or anybody in any brand is afraid of wasting money when it comes to marketing because it's such a saturated thing. A lot of people promise like like, you know, extremely high things, you know. So I think it was just extremely important for me to show that I have results and that I have a logical plan to help you, like a tailored plan to help you as an agent, you know, improve your branding and marketing.
The the exposure, the branding, the positioning, the long-term return on investment on marketing, especially in the real estate space, because me and Norman dealt with this for years working together, is that the direct response addiction to having an IV feeding them leads, right, that want to buy or go see a house at 5 o'clock tonight has shifted the mindset. And this is in every industry, but lead generation is way different than branding your company and building long-term name recognition or market share. And so to put a value to that to a lot of the real estate agents is very hard because you're like, it's okay that you have lead generation and you're paying X amount of dollars to generate X amount of appointments and X amount of closings. But there's this money that you need to set aside to build brand, build name recognition. And I think that is one of the hardest objections to handle because long-term case studies are very hard to come up with when you're a marketing agency dealing with real estate agents, because no one stays with you long enough to actually like run the numbers. So,
and it's also extremely hard in that point that you brought up for a case study. For example, to present a case study to a real estate agent to show how my video helped a listing in comparison to another listing on that same street, exact same house maybe, or very similar, how my video helped sell that house for X% more is very hard to do, especially to a well-educated like real estate agent who's going to go down like, who's just going to tear that apart immediately. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who's just going to be like, listen, it wasn't the video, it's because the lot size, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I've never tried to go in that route either. You know what I mean? Or tried to like say that I know more than an agent, you know. I'm just trying to share what I know.
I think that it cost per listing budget that like we put in as real estate, as I'm a real estate agent, is that like if I have 2 listings, and this is probably a really good gold nugget for people. If I have 2 listings and one of them has been really well maintained, the property has been prepared well, whether it's staged or cleaned out or vacant, versus a house that's currently still lived in, has a lot of clutter, like I'm going to choose as a real estate agent not to hire my videographer and pay him $250 a video to do the house that is not going to put me in the best light. And I think a lot of times you have to look at your inventory that you're listing and figuring out which houses are going to make your brand be exponentially seen with engagement, views, showings, clicks, versus like, hey, I'm just going to create this SOP and video every single listing I have. That has been a learning curve for us with the real estate team, because a lot of my agents on my team are like, hey, can we get a video for this listing? I'm like, no, we're not putting that out. Like, this house is not what we want to represent. And I think that's where you have to be choosy on what
keeping it real.
What content you're putting out.
That's right. 100% agree with you. And I think that's why a lot of clients sort of respect working with us, because we're not greedy at all. And that's exactly the sort of advice, what Daniel just said there is what I would offer my clients. And it's because I tell them to that straight up front, and I'm not like searching for your business right up front. And I give them genuine advice that they implement. Then they start producing content themselves. Then they run into the issue of, okay, I know how to make it. I know the value of it, but I don't have time for it. I'm going back to Pranav. That's it.
Yeah.
What I mean, that they won't consider anybody else because they know I've given them that advice. They've worked on it themselves. They've done it. Now they trust what I've given them, and now it's just strictly about time. So I completely agree with what you're saying.
I love what you said, Dan, and it makes so much sense, because at the end of the day, it's like that's your billboard. You could use the house to film short form content, do video walkthrough tour, video testimonials. There's so much that can happen from that video, and I see that I've been seeing the pivot of your brand, Dan, how you've been kind of marketing some properties, and now I see the property you're marketing. You're like, oh, that's badass, like duplex, this and that.
Yeah, it's you can't go into every listing promising the same thing. And I think every real estate agent needs to understand that, as like your menu of services, what you do with your commission and what you want to reinvest your commission dollar on Front Street to the customer before you sell a property, right, is super, super important. And I have like this one quick example is that I had a great listing exterior wise. It was a beautiful home, right? But interior wise, like they just weren't getting the picture of like cleaning it out and making the necessary steps to put it on like the best light possible. Like it was kind of like a tug of war where I like the commission level that I had offered them wasn't like, if they would have given me like 6%, let me be honest here. If they would have given me 6%, I would have called a cleaning lady and had her come in and clean the house. Right. But they want to negotiate on commission. So this is like a 4.5% listing, right? I'm already discounting the service because they were stuck on price, right? I was trying to help the family out. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do these things for you. You need to work as a team. Well, they never cleaned out the refrigerator.
Ooh.
Showed well on photos, shows well on video exterior wise. But when somebody goes to do a showing, they open the refrigerator and it's like rotting food.
Ugh.
So it's like the little details of what you're trying to do from a marketing standpoint is like, it's not just video. It's not just listing. You probably deal with this when you show up to do a listing. You're like, whoa, we need to make this bed or move this box. And to create that perfect equation of a representation of you right? Sometimes I'll literally just be like, no video.
Yeah.
My video guy's there. Like, we're just doing still photo. Sorry, no video. What? No video? I thought we were doing video. Nope. Not happening. Because they didn't hold their end of the bargain.
I agree. 100%. I agree. Yeah. And that actually another point that you brought up there is when the real estate agents go to have a listing appointment with potential clients and they are sort of justifying their commissions. Of course, an agent will have like reasons of why their commissions are so high. And if you're doing the proper marketing and you show them, how much you're allocating to marketing and staging and cleaning and, any sort of renovations that need to be done, it's very justifiable. But I agree, like, if you are going to discount your rate, there has to be some sort of teamwork on their end to, support you. Absolutely.
I've literally had my photographer show up and call me and be like, I just left. And I'm like, what do you mean? Photography is scheduled for today. They're like, no, I'm not shooting the house. And I gave them that authority, right? Because if I'm not there, I always say, if you show up and it's like, no way. We've done it like 3 or 4 times now. And then the client's calling me and asking me why, right? And I'm like, sorry, like, you got to get your shit clean. Like, this is the street and this is the window and everybody's walking by the window, but you have like a bunch of trash and things and clutter. And all I ask is like, do you need 2 weeks or need 4 weeks? If you need 4 weeks, no problem. No, we can get this done in 2 weeks. Yeah. So I bring this problem up because we don't have a lot of photographers or videographers on. And I think that to a real estate agent, like, create a standard operating procedure to come to your listing a day or two prior to photos, create the punch list and tell your client, like, there is no like wiggle room, right? We have to make sure it's photo ready. If we're going to be doing video, it's got to be video ready, which is way different than photo ready. And I really stress those things because a newer real estate agent that just picks up the phone, calls a photographer and says, hey, can I book photos? You pretty much waste their time showing up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 100%.
Agreed.
But I'll tell you what, it honestly gives a lot of agents like yourself a competitive advantage because you know what? Most agents don't take that much care into So I think if you're an agent and you want to be successful, you can do the basic things right. You're already in the top, like, 1%. So,
Let's go. I love that. And I could imagine too, Nev, and even for Dan, like, you could say, hey, like, all right, here's A, B, and C. Okay. Here's your 4% commission. Okay. Here's your 5. Here's your like 6%. Okay. So you can see like how it works and how it looks. And if you don't want to do what you want to do, then it is what it is. So viewers and listeners, consumers, like, I think that was a great segment of the podcast. And I think there's a lot of things for people to take into consideration. And one thing I wanted to bring up is, like, if someone was like, Dan, or wanted to hire a company, can you walk us through, Nav, what is that process? Like, so what's onboarding? What's the process? Let's get some people to imagine working with you specifically.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically what they'll do is now I get my leads from sort of 3 different places. It's either, I cold email, or they find me on Instagram, or referrals. And it's actually not in that order. I would say referrals is my like number one way. And then I would say it's through Instagram, like the videos that we put out, and people will follow us and just see. And the last one is cold email. But for onboarding, usually what happens is, they'll give us a call to me personally, and they'll let us know, like, what listing they have, like what date they have, right? And they'll let us know sort of what they expect for the listing. Like, they want to do photos, video, drone, and the vertical video walkthroughs, which we've been doing and are extremely popular. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see them, but they're extremely popular and they're part of one of our packages. So once they give us sort of a rundown of what they're required for the listing, and most of the time it falls like 98% of the time, we have like one package. We have 3 packages that sort of cover everything an agent could really want. And we pretty much, walk them through, pricing for their home based on their square footage. So once they pick that, we just, schedule them in for a date. We show up and, it's pretty much it. We deliver the work and we'd send you invoice after. And we also post the work for you as well. So you don't have to handle it. Yeah. Because a lot of agents, Yeah.
Yes.
They
Let's
don't
talk
know.
about that.
Yeah, a lot of agents don't know how to post the content properly in order to adhere with like the techniques for the algorithm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Mhm.
They're not posting it by tagging the right songs and the right hashtags or the right pages that are going to share your reels. And they're not posting it at the right times either. So once we have all the content for you, we'll post it, and we'll sort of post it in the order of, we'll post the pictures first, right? And you'll send us like the MLS draft that goes on the MLS. We'll post the pictures first as an Instagram collaboration post. So it
Yep.
shows up on both of our feeds. And like I said,
Smart.
all you do is just send us the draft. It'll show up. We handle making sure it's posted the right way. It still shows up on your feed as well. Then we'll post the video walkthrough, which is the 2-minute like long version of the actual home, just B-roll, music, featuring drone, all that stuff. And then the last thing we'll post is the vertical video tour, which is like a 30-second trending, very cool teaser video of that shot in vertical format separately of the actual home. And it could feature the agent or not, just depending on the package that you choose. But it's pretty simple. I like the idea of having like a simple restaurant, when they do a couple things like well, and everything is simple, but they do the simple things like extremely well. Like,
In-N-Out Burger.
Exactly. That I really, really relate to that model. And I want to make sure what real estate agents, they look at my website, my pricing packages. It's extremely simple to understand. And we're not the type of company where you have to call us and then, or send us an email and then set up an appointment for just to speak with us or anything like that. Or send back and forth emails and wait and then deal with you know,
Do you have scheduling on your? Do you have a scheduling app to schedule a shoot on your website?
I don't, only because when we used to do that, we ran into a lot of problems because agents would pick like a package and then we would do it, right? And they would say like, oh well, I kind of wanted the video shot a little bit differently, or I wanted something like I wanted to be a little bit more creative, I wanted this cover. And then that's also sort of what led me into sort of pushing into the media agency that's a little bit more, I would say, boutique, to agents that are a little bit more particular and they don't want something stamped and like sort of cookie cutter. So they want to call a real person like me and they want to hear my plan for their property and what I suggest. And they want to hear, like how we can make it better and like all my creative input as well. And, although all of this sort of sounds a little bit overwhelming, you'd be surprised that all of this can be done within like 20 minutes because obviously a top producing agent doesn't have time.
You answer your phone?
Huh?
You answer your phone?
I answer my phone. Yeah.
Wow.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the reason I ask is that like there's some photographers in my market that they have like a scheduling app or some ability to schedule. The other ones are like, call or reach out to me. And whatever model is, there's no right or wrong. But I think being quick to the response, right? Like from the jump, like 2 hours and getting back to somebody is really important to a real estate agent because they're like, hey, like I want to try a new photographer, but I need photos done next Wednesday. It's Thursday, right? Like, is it possible? Does this person have availability? So there's a lot of back and forth that happens in logistics that I think gets like people don't talk about it. And I think I literally like seeked out somebody that I could mold and craft into what I need in my situation. 20 agents and being available and having the availability. Cause a lot of times I'd reach out to the photographers like, oh, I'm booked out all next week. I'm like, doesn't work. Next. And to their success, that's their model. Right. But yeah, I think that communication was huge because people will call me like 2 days later. So you wanted to get photos booked? And I'm like, dude, it's already booked and we're already going out there tomorrow. Like,
yeah. I think it works both ways, but I just thought personally for me, the type of clients that were booking with us, it just felt like they wanted a true, thorough like onboarding process. And because the homes and the clients that they were dealing with were also you know, expecting a subpart, like, you know, a really nice service. So they want, like, the clients were all very, you know, involved in sort of the media that we delivered. You know, they would tell us, you know, like, the client didn't like this or that or whatever, and we would help them. And they really appreciate that too, you know, because I feel like some photographers, they get a little too prideful about like their work and stuff like that. And I'm like, the client is the only judge, jury, and, like, you know, everything else. That's all that matters. Like, what else matters? Who else?
We've reshot all the time.
Yeah.
Like they didn't like this 2 or 3 photos. I'm like, cool, we'll get it done. Like it'll be the next 2 days. Oh, you want twilights? Oh, cool, no problem. Like I'll send it to my guy to get them edited. Like we're flexible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's that. I get where you're going with that. Is that, you know,
we're still passionate. We'll do everything full of passion, but like 100%, there's no one on my team, none of my videographers, photographers, that will take it offensively at all if you tell them you don't like it this way, or will hesitate. Like, if a client is adamant about shooting something some way, we won't argue. We'll do it exactly the way they want it done, and they're happy. You know what I mean? And I think that just, it works, you know.
And Nev, you're going after top performing real estate professionals. You know, you're probably 1 to 5 million, I could imagine, plus. And so, you know, and those individuals too, like the most successful people are picky, and it's all about the details. If you go to a nice home, everything's put together. Their car's put together, their house is put together. It's just a different level of someone who is very conscious of all the things, instead of like someone who, like Dan talked about, clean your fucking fridge, dude. Like, no one wants to buy your house and smell rotten eggs.
Yeah, it's you try, and I have the rule of, like, you know, 3 strikes. Like if I ask you once, I ask you twice, and then I go over there and there's like the 3rd time and that refrigerator ain't cleaned out, I don't give a crap about your listing anymore. Why would you ever want your real estate agent to feel that way?
Yeah.
Right.
100%. No, I love that, man. And congratulations on posting the content out there. A lot of real estate professionals, anyone who's listening right now and you're working with a videographer, a photographer, drone person that's giving you this content, but you're not putting it out there, you're not really serving yourself. Or if you're just like, oh, well, I put it on Instagram, but like you didn't put the tour on YouTube, that's evergreen. That's forever. I mean, anyone can look up that address and find that home and be like, oh my God, like look at the home like 5 years ago when it was taken by, you know, Code Blue Media. Like it's cool because it can like encapsulate the listing and all the things from when it was done. So that's where at Liftoff, we help agents disseminate content, work with a lot of companies like yourself. But it's nice that you're at the upper echelon, which you do it all for them. And so, which makes it a lot easier, a lot nicer. And so as we get closer to closing out the show here, we'd love to kind of learn, like, so we did ask you how long you've been in the business for, and are you just in Canada?
Yeah, I'm just in Canada right now, and I've been in the business for, it's my like 4th year. Like,
congrats.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything on your side, Dan? Should we close it up?
I think we're good, man. I look forward to following your content and your journey, and we should definitely have you on here as things evolve. The media world's always evolving, but yeah, let us know when you shoot Drake's next music video, and we'll be down.
I know, right? Let's go.
We're shooting a listing that's on his street, actually.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Bridle path. So it's on his street, so very close to his house, actually. So it should be good.
Toronto's a beautiful city. I grew up in Cleveland area, and it's like the first, other than Niagara Falls and getting drunk in, what's that called outside of Detroit? I forget. But
Windsor?
Yeah. But Toronto is like the first real city from when you would leave Cleveland to go, like, you know, into Canada. Like Toronto is the first big metropolitan area that I went to, and you know, I've just been a big fan of the area. I think it's beautiful, and it has a lot of culture, and it's very similar, right? It's on a lake. It's like Cleveland weird. And it just
I'm not a fan of Cleveland because they've destroyed us in sports. And the Raptors have been crushed by the Cavaliers for years and years and years. So I'm not a fan of Cleveland.
Let's go.
Yep.
So,
I love it, Dev.
Great to have you on, Dev.
Yeah, and as we close out, man, for anyone who's listening, they got to get on media. They're on media. They're not maximizing. Like, this is your world. What would you like to leave with the viewers and listeners for this real estate community as we close out today's show?
I would say that the age of no longer wanting to put yourself out there in terms of media and marketing is over. And I feel like that the gates opened a couple years ago, especially here, and they've been open in the States for a very long time when it comes to marketing yourself as an agent. And regardless if you work with me, if you produce the content yourself, or you work with anywhere else, it's imperative as an agent that you become and understand the urgency of marketing and media, and changing and straying away from, like, traditional methods, and understanding that the consumer, that your clients are a lot smarter now, and they expect a different service, and the urgency for agents to sort of recognize that is pretty important, I would say.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
an awesome closer. Well, Nav, thanks so much for being on the show. Real Estate First Technology Unleashed. I'm sure all of our viewers and listeners can take things from today and apply to their business. Dan, thanks always for co-hosting. Appreciate you. Even in the weather, man, he's showing up.
Showing up.
The most successful people just show up.
That's right. On time.
All the time, man. And thanks to all our viewers and listeners, as it is our intention for you to take these for episodes to apply to your business, have more massive success. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. New episodes every Friday at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see you all on the next one.